what will happen when the Mayan calendar ends on December 21st, 2012. We have a wonderful, wonderful lineup of speakers today. I just can't wait to hear all of these amazing speakers and for them to teach us and tell us how we can move into this fifth world that we're going to be moving into. And you'll learn more about what that means, the fifth world, according to the ancient Mayans. So let's get started now. Let's just take a moment to center ourselves. So let's take a big deep breath to unite with each other. Breathe in and let it go. Let's take a big deep breath of divine love. Breathe in and release. Let's take a big deep breath of relaxation. Breathe in and let it go. As we now know and recognize that there is one power and one presence at work in the universe and in our lives, the divine spirit within us, we are merged with and one with that divine spirit, knowing that it governs our every action, our every breath. It governs all that we do. And is right here, right now, within us, in the very center of being. There that divine spirit is. We are merged with and one with that perfect divine spirit. Therefore, we give up and give over to spirit, give over to God, knowing that it is in God's perfect hands right here and right now. We call forth all the beautiful divine beings of light and ascended masters, angels and archangels. And we release this prayer into the spiritual law, knowing it does demonstrate right here and right now. Thank you, God, and so it is. Fred Alan Wolf, author of many books including Taking the Quantum Leap, Parallel Universes, The Dreaming Universe, The Eagle's Quest, The Spiritual Universe, Mind into Matter, Matter into Feeling, The Yoga of Time Travel, and his latest book, Dr. Quantum Presents, a little book of big ideas. Fred Alan Wolf is a physicist, writer, and lecturer who earned his PhD in theoretical physics at UCLA in 1963. He continues to write, lecture throughout the world, and conduct research on the relationship of quantum physics to consciousness. He's a National Book Award-winning author of Taking the Quantum Leap, member of the Martin Luther King Jr. Collegium of Scholars.
Well, let's take what is called a long count view of Mesoamerica. This is really the area where all of this begins to take place, where the early Mayan people and the Olmec people began to look at the nature of time itself, and they had a way of counting, which I think is very interesting. And during the time I will be with you, I will go through some of the basic ideas that these people come up with, because people wonder, well, how do we ever come up with December 21st in 2012? How would the Mayans know that? Well, they didn't know that date because they were using a different number system based on the number 20. So the first thing we need to look at is just, what are we talking about? What are the terms that are used to describe the Mayan vision of time? Now, once we start getting into that, we begin to realize that time is really a recognition that human beings have of patterns of behavior, of things that they see. And when they try to make sense of those things, they're looking for frequency or cycle or repetition. And it's from that frequency or cycle or repetition that people begin to sense a purpose, a meaning, a reason for existence. And that's certainly wasn't only with the Mayan people. We can find in the ancient Kabbalistic traditions of the people that are now called Jews, that came out of what is now called Iraq. following a guy who was a mystic called Abraham, we can see the same kind of thing in their vision, because these guys would look up at the sky and they would see cycles. They would see movement, and from cycles and movement, one gets a notion of time. Now, what I should have told you about is my latest book is actually called Time Loops and Space Twists, How God Created the Universe. And we'll talk a little bit about that in relationship to the big cycle of time, which in the Mayan terminology is called a katun. And what we're looking for is the first, what is called a baktun, which I won't go into all the details of what that is, but we're actually reaching what is called that our world ends after 13 baktuns, and then there's another cycle of 13 baktuns, and it keeps going like that. A 13th baktuns is roughly, this is surprising, about 5,125 years, and that's really dating back to the times of when we see the Chaldean people and other peoples coming into notion of the nature of time itself. So these are some of the things to give an overview of what is meant by time, what time means to us personally, and the most important thing, I think, is to recognize that we ourselves are contributing to our notion of time, that we are contributing to what we mean by time, and we are contributing to the creative element which is contained in time, the ability to recognize patterns. And this is probably the most important thing I can tell you in a short period of time, and that is that we are creating time, and that we are creating the moments of our history as well as the moments of our future. That from the point of view of quantum physics and from general relativity and the newest ideas that are coming into focus right now, most of what we see is a kind of an illusion. It's very solid and very real to us, but there's a pattern in it, and if we can begin to identify that pattern and begin to look at it in a certain way, what I call positivity or a positive way of looking at things, we can influence the direction in which the evolution will take place. So the end of the Mayan calendar, or the ending of the 13 baktuns, which will take place on December the 21st, it's to realize that we ourselves are creative, that we can create a transformation in our own cultures so that what we thought before begins to dissipate and dissolve into memories, and what we anticipate as what we want to be begins to appear to us as future, but future influencing us now. This is a little bit difficult to explain over the phone or in a short conversation, but I hope to make this clear during the seminar on board. Basically, that's what's in store for you. We're going to find out about the nature of time, the nature of cycles, and what quantum physics and consciousness really are. And I'm going to provide you with a new vision that is the latest stuff that's coming out of the minds of the new physicists, which indicates that we ourselves are created from projections from the infinite past and the infinite future, going forward in time from the past, backward in time from the future, into the present, and that we ourselves exist in a whole other kind of dimension, you might call it, but really on the edges of surfaces. And we are kind of like holograms being projected from these surfaces.
Tricia McKinnon is a renowned American clairvoyant, historian, author, and teacher who has traveled the world in search of answers to the greatest mysteries of the ages. As a dedicated researcher and mystical symbologist in many ancient paths of wisdom, she's known as the mysteries expert. She's appeared on over 175 radio and TV shows worldwide and a number of international documentaries. She's the author of over 30 CDs and DVDs, as well as the books Dialogues with the Angels and Jesus, the Explosive Story of the 30 Lost Years, and the Ancient Mystery Religions. So for the past 2 decades, she's been a headliner at conferences around the world, giving soul matrix readings for over 6,000 people around the world in her continuing commitment to inner awakening and world unity. What do you foresee happening on December 21st, 2012, and how can we prepare to move into this new world, the fifth world, as they call it in the Mayan culture?
If I had to be the press agent, I would just go down through this list of the people that you have brought in and just say each one of these individuals has been someone who has been a voice of transformation in the global community for the last 10, 15, 20, or 25 years. So it's quite a collection of teachers and speakers, and I love that you've chosen some very diverse points of view. I think that a lot of us who have really studied the historical end of this phenomena are aware of the time cycles. And, we have Hopis and we have Mayans and East Indian, Hindu, Vedic, Purana, Vedic traditions from all over the world that talk about these great time cycles. There's a lot to say about this, and this is definitely one of the things that I'm very passionate about. But to kind of bring another aspect to the table in this conversation, I would like to talk a little bit about the nature of light and how the end of this 26,000-year cycle, or 25,920-year cycle, is the end of one cycle, but the birth of another cycle, where, as they say, the solar energy of the sun goes into the mouth of the serpent's mouth, or thought of also as the mother's womb, creating a cosmic marriage. And this marriage allows energies from the great central sun to be downloaded as light waves into our sun and then to be downloaded onto our planet, which is part of what's happening with all these heat waves and solar flares and tsunamis and earthquakes, and all the earth changes have to do with these increased radiation energies. But they're not just heat waves. They are encoded messages from the galactic center. And since light is the carrier wave that transcends time and space, light is, the ancients say that the universe was created through love, sound, and light. In the beginning was the word, so you have the sound current, and then you have the light. This is a phenomenal opportunity for us as light beings to align with a frequency and take a journey, if you will. The different cultures named it different things. Some called it the way. That's what Jesus called it. The middle way. That's what Buddha called it. The ancient way. That's what Thoth called it. The Mayans call it the kuak sum, or the umbilical cord, or the serpent rope that leads us back to the Hunab Ku, meaning and one measure, one heartbeat behind everything. So I think one of the most phenomenal opportunities about this time-space window that all of us brave souls have incarnated into is that we are looking at the rare opportunity to go through a doorway in consciousness and possibly also physically from the third dimension into the fourth dimension. Now, what would that look like? Certainly I think if you're aligned with these frequencies, these light frequencies, it's going to look a lot different than if you're in a place of fear. And this is, one of the conversations about, is it world destruction or is it world creation? Is it literally like a science fiction movie where we somehow are involved in receiving these light energies that transform us physically, molecularly? So it's a very big conversation. Now, will this happen on December 21st, 2012? Possibly. Possibly it's the end of the cycle and the exact beginning of the new cycle. Possibly it's a download opportunity. And, of course, people who are at sacred sites like the ones we're going to are going to have an opportunity to literally be in the epicenter of these grids, these planetary global grids that have been laid out, as we know, by far more ancient civilizations than ours. And, of course, shows like Ancient Alien that many of us are involved in, those shows talk about this grid work that is being discovered in Australia and off the coast of India and Bimini and Mexico, were all those incredible ruins of Chichen Itza and Merida and Palenque, Uxmal, Coba, Tulum. Anyway, it's quite an incredible opportunity for us to link into one of the core nodal points of the grid of the Earth and to receive that blessing that's coming through from the sun, from the great central sun to our sun, through us into the Earth. And, of course, anything could happen because there are prophecies that the star brothers will arrive, that the elder brothers of wisdom will come. There's a prophecy that a serpent rope will descend and that a being called Nine Winds, or Quetzalcoatl, will come out, and that he will be a teacher of wisdom that will help to awaken and transform and change consciousness. So what a place to be.
It is the place to be, as far as I can tell.
It's the place to be. There are times that the place to be is the Great Pyramid of Giza. There are times it's Mohenjo-Daro, or it's Hawaii and Kauai. But this moment in time, there is no place else to be. And what a phenomenal group of teachers. I mean, this will be like old home week in consciousness. And even the people who've called me, who tell me that they're going to be on the cruise or that they want to go, they're really looking forward to the fact that literally it's like this huge activation party. I mean, You can look at it like this. If we were all going to die, what a way to go. We could go right into the fourth dimension directly. I think it's just very important to hold the consciousness of what this is, not just as like a birthday or a anniversary or a cool place to go on a holiday, although all those things are true, but to look at it as like a time ship that can literally transport our consciousness into a graduated state. That's Imagine getting to graduate to become a master after how many millions of years all of us incarnate down in these planes. That's phenomenal, isn't it?
It's a very interesting time for us to incarnate, and I'm sure that we're all ascending together into a higher vibration, into a higher consciousness, a higher octave. In 1982, Mellon Thomas Benedict died of terminal brain cancer and lived to tell about it. His miraculous return to life is one of the most well-known and loved NDE stories on the World Wide Web. Since his NDE, Mellon has been a researcher, inventor in the field of quantum biology, biophotonics, and cellular communication for over 25 years. He's a technology product consultant and popular lecturer on the subject of longevity, energy medicine, and phototherapy. He also holds a number of U.S. and foreign patents. Mellon Thomas has maintained his access to universal intelligence, enabling him to be a bridge between science and spirit. Deepak Chopra called Mellon Thomas the encyclopedia of the afterlife. Great. So your website, though, is MELLEN-Thomas.com. So, Mellon, I really would like to hear your insights and what you foresee as we move into this new era, this new consciousness that we're moving into. And what do you think will happen on December 21st, 2012?
My perspective on this is I have kept my connection to the light ever since my near-death experience and return to the light daily, and I do think tanks, and I'm a full-time inventor based on my connection with the light. Back in '82, when I had my original near-death experience, the light told me that I would begin this strange thing called my planet work in about 25, 30 years. And that was fine. And around 2010, the light, in one of my visitations, the light said, well, your work is to begin now. And I said, oh, what work? It had been so long. And, oh, really? Because I've never felt I've had a mission. I've never felt I had to do anything with this story, except the light did encourage me to tell my story. But other than that, I felt no mission, no compulsion, or like it was going to save anybody at all. But what the light reminded me of, and this is why 2012 is important for me, is that 2012 definitely does mark a turning point in many ways. And my perspective on this is going to be a little bit different than I think many of the perspectives on the cruise. And I like that because almost every angle of this is being covered by one of these masters on the crew. I really like that. I will probably be coming at it from a completely different perspective. My information is, of course, that 2012 is a marker on the path. It is definitely a turning point. But I will be covering specific information I've been given about 2020, 2040, and 2060 as some of the most important things that have ever happened on planet Earth. And my perspectives has nothing to do with plagues, conspiracies, aliens, or comets hitting the planet. So I have a different perspective. But basically, the dates of 2020, 2040, 2060 are really going to surprise people because, oddly enough, no one is actually covering the subject matter that I'll be covering. I don't want to give too much away right now. My perspective is one from a natural view of metaphysics. And the greatest gift I was given by the light was to look at this thing called the Gaia perspective. And, of course, we all know what Gaia means now, the Earth Mother, the Earth as a whole living system. So I will be looking at things from that perspective. It's the greatest lessons that I've ever learned about how to understand what's going on the planet. It will involve everything from what are the real metaphors of Adam and Eve, the whole concept that all the good that we have accomplished. That's something that needs to be, shared, is the human race and the Gaia has accomplished so much good, and especially something called collective intelligence is an incredible achievement for any planet, any living system to achieve. I will be focusing on some rather positive aspects, but some things that may be controversial to our crowd of people. We will, we'll really look at these dates individually that involve something that is going to change the Earth dramatically for the rest of the time that we stay on the Earth, and we will also talk about our starseed destiny. Of course, no civilization can stay on a planet forever. No matter what we do, planet Earth will die at some point. There is something in the Gaia, there's something in every one of us that recognizes this, and I will be talking about what I call our starseed destiny, which is in our DNA, actually, and why once a living system like our Gaia system, Mother Earth, achieves this level of collective intelligence, that it starts looking for the stars and starts looking for other stars to colonize. I think people will find it very fascinating. I will look at the technologies that are just around the corner, because for every problem that we have, there are 10 answers on board. This has never happened before in history. I challenge my audiences quite often. Any problem, there's 10 answers already on the deck for this. And there are thousands upon thousands of people on planet Earth working actively on any problem that you can talk about. This has never happened before in the history of the world. And then one of the most important things that has happened, and we achieved this incredible thing about 1975, actually, and it was set in by the early 80s. For the first time in the history of this world, we have been in a position to technically, and this is what's so important, spirituality is important, but to be able to technically do what's coming next was the most important next step. You have to be able to technically accomplish certain things, not just imagine them, not just have a ceremony. All that's great, but there's more to it. And the interesting thing is that since 1975, we have, for the first time in the history of the world, which is so exciting, been technically able to feed, clothe, comfort, educate every human being on Earth without destroying the planet. This is a new time that we live in. And this is a very important thing to explore and to get into your conscious, get into your heart. And the idea that all the major problems that this planet's ever faced, it has transcended. We have never failed. Our DNA is transcendent. Our pattern through the entire history of this world has been transcending. And no matter what issues are going on the planet at any given time in history, we have a proven history of transcending whatever is going on, including before humans were on the planet. We were still here as a part of Gaia. it's interesting that humans are the youngest species on planet Earth in some respects, but we have the oldest DNA on planet Earth. I'm going to explore that with people in a multimedia way. My entire talk will be a multimedia presentation, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. I will also discuss the what I call our future our future ancestors. That's the people. What will the people of the future think about us? And in my visitations with the light, who can see the mass potential of the future, no one can see the exact date of any future event. That's never been proven. But you can see a mass potential, just like karma has a potential of where it's going if you keep doing the things you're doing, of course. But it may surprise people to know that the light has told me, from its view of our future, that the people of the future think of us who are living now as the giants of all history on planet Earth. Can you believe that? It's stunning.
That is
us.
Stunning.
We think we're messing everything up.
Right.
You know, many people look at humanity as a hairy caterpillar on a tree trying to eat every leaf on the tree. But that caterpillar doesn't realize that it's about to become a butterfly in total transcendence. And so I think this will be very exciting. It'll be a lot of fun, and I love images. I'm a show and tell guy, and so I think we'll have a lot of fun with this. I'm looking forward to attending as many of the other lectures as is possible, because, you know, no one person has all the answers or all the perspective. It takes all of us on this cruise and all of us on this planet to see the whole picture, and that's what's very exciting to me.
Sounds like you have a very positive, optimistic viewpoint about what's going to be taking place in our future. And to hear that the beings from the future are saying that we are the ones that have really made a difference in transforming this planet, that is very inspiring.
We're the ones who actually made it possible. It's amazing.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. Of 8, Abby Hayden had her first psychic experience, and she saw her little brother's shimmering, transparent astral body standing in her bedroom, beckoning her to go down the hallway to her parents' room. Through the open doorway of her parents' room, she saw her brother's physical body asleep and his astral body standing in the doorway, laughing at her. Needless to say, this created a fear of the unexplained that stayed with her until she went to college in Mexico. And then she was studying at the University of the Americas in Mexico. Her intuitive gifts emerged. She was studying for her BA in English literature, but the true purpose of being in Mexico was to begin her spiritual awakening. And that was a time when she connected to the Maya and their culture. And then in Mexico, her connection to the Assembly of Light, the group conscious that she channels, began. After returning from Mexico, she mastered past life regression, Western and Mayan astrology, Reiki energy healing, aura soma color therapy, and sound healing. And she wrote the book, The Mayan Sacred Count of Days, and she's also working on the Mayan Astrology Handbook. So Abby is actually going to be doing Mayan readings on the cruise, which is really cool. Very appropriate for the Mayan Galactic Cruise. She'll be doing Mayan readings. So tell us, Abby, what do you see as happening on December 21st, 2012, and how can we prepare for this new era for the fifth world?
An article on Mayan prophecy, and I'll tell you later where people can see it if they want. But the first thing I say is that the world's not going to end. I think we all feel that. But this is the end of, yes, the 25,000-year cycle, but definitely not the end of the world, because as previous speakers have said, the Mayans believe in cycles of time, and everything recycles. Now, my area of expertise is with the Tzolk'in calendar, which is the astrology calendar, and that calendar was used by the Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Aztecs, and the Mayas were the last to put their spin on it, so to speak. But the unique achievement of the Maya is the long count calendar, and that is the calendar that has the end date of December 21st, 2012. And so there's nothing written by the Mayas saying the world's going to end, and actually there are many glyphs in the ruins of Palenque in central Mexico that show that the world's going to go on well into the 4000 AD. So, but really what I want to talk about is the prophecies that the Mayans actually left, and they are connected to the long count calendar. There's prophecies called the Katun prophecies, and that the Katun is a 20-year period of time. And the Mayans made 13 prophecies that keep recycling. Every 20 years there's a new Katun until you come to the 13th Katun, and then you go on again to the beginning of the prophecies. So the prophecy for 1993 to 2012, which we're in right now, I'm only going to talk about a small part of it. And that prophecy was half the Katun good and half the Katun bad. And we can see from the world economy that 1993 to really 2007 were really good times when the economy was expanding and everything was going really good. And then after 2007, things did start to turn bad. And now the economy is in a very fragile state. It is recovering, but everything is still very delicate with the economy. So now the prophecy from 2012 to 2032, that prophecy is for half the Katun there will be bread, for half the Katun water, the end of the word of God. So I want to look at these a bit. Now, for half the Katun there will be bread. To me, this says that we're actually coming into a more prosperous time. The economy is going to continue to recover, and we're going to be doing well for the next 10 years, which is half the Katun, up to 2022. So I think that things are going to get a lot better financially. The global economy is going to improve, and just actually living in general is going to improve. Now, then the second part of that prophecy, half the Katun water, I feel, in my opinion, that this refers to a period when there's going to be more rain and flooding and that kind of stuff. So there will be more water, more rain coming the years from 2022 to 2032. And I feel that is also perhaps the beginning of the periods that were shown on the maps of Gordon Michael Scallion and I Am America, that the world landscape is going to change because more water will be covering land areas. So I don't really feel that the final prophecy of Gordon Michael Scallion is going to come about and there's going to be big changes, but I feel they are going to start during this time period. And another indication of the water situation can be found on the Dresden Codex. The Dresden Codex was one of the few codices written by the Maya that actually survived. And on the last page of the Dresden Codex is a picture of water coming out of the god's mouth and water coming over the land. So I feel like we will have a period where there is going to be more rain and possibly some changes in the topography of the planet, but I still think we are going to survive that. And the most interesting part of this, I find, is the sentence, the end of the word of God. Because during the same time period that went from 1500 to 1520, this was the time period that Cortez landed in Mexico. He arrived in 1519, and as we all know, it was the end of the Mayans' word of God. They had to renounce their Mayan religion and accept Christianity. So that's what happened during this exact same time period then. And my feeling is that the end of the word of God is going to be the end of spirituality and religion as we've come to see it in these past 2,000 years, where we've had these very solid Christian religions and
Judaism and Islam and all these other religions, Buddhism, Hinduism. And I feel like people are going to migrate away from that and creating their own religion or creating their own connection with God and divinity, and not so much having to go to a certain place at a certain time to worship in a certain way, to follow traditions of a certain religion. I feel like all those things that we've been doing for the past 2,000 years in the age of Pisces are going to start to lose cohesiveness. And I think we're going to be coming into a true connection with the divine. The age of Aquarius is the age of individuality and individual expression. And I think we're going to all have our own individual expression on religion in the next, I would say, 20 years. So I'm feeling some earth changes and also some social, political, economic changes. But I feel like basically the Mayan prophecy is saying for this time period that the world, things are going to change, but everything is going to be good. And I guess I feel about these next 10 years that this is a time to prepare. The economy is going to either stay steady or improve. And I feel like people need to find out where they want to be and how they want to deal with the next time periods that are coming up. So we have 10 years to really stabilize and create a good foundation for ourselves for the future. Now, this article that I wrote, it can be found in two different places on the Internet. It can be found at www.shiftofages.org. And this is the website, the official website for Don Alejandro, who is the head of the Mayan Council of Elders of Guatemala. And they did publish this article on the website. So to me, that is a validation of what I'm saying and how they correlate, or they feel that what I'm saying in this article is valid. The second place you can find this article is the website tokenrock.com, TOKEN rock.com. And I have a Mayan astrology section there, and you can also read this article that talks about the time periods from December 21st of 2032 to 2052, and then from 2052 to 2072. Now, all this information that I've gotten about the Katun prophecies comes from a Mayan astrologer called Bruce Schofield, Scofield. And he's written several books on Mayan astrology, but you can find the information about these time periods in his book, Signs of Time, which you can get on Amazon if you choose. So my books are Mayan Sacred Count of Days that talks about my relationship with Mayan scholar Ian X.L. Lungold, and you can tune in to Ian on YouTube if you'd like. And the book talks about our time together and what we did, and I feel that many achievements in bringing Mayan astrology out into the world again happened through the work that Ian did and through the work I helped him with. And it was during that time that I learned about the Tzolk'in and Mayan astrology. And now I've written another book called the Mayan Astrology Handbook, and that should be out in print. It should be out on Smashwords next month. I'm doing the final edit on that. And that makes it really simple to follow Mayan astrology, because the goal here, what you want to do with Mayan astrology, is attune to the light energy that comes from the Hunab-Ku, the center of our Milky Way. And so Western astrology talks about the influences that our planets in the solar system have on us, and Mayan astrology talks about the influences that the galactic light from the Hunab-Ku has on us. So both of these systems work together to help you understand yourself even more.
And I'm glad that you mentioned Ian, who is really a great light in this field, who has really had a tremendous influence on all those who went after him?
Yeah, Ian was living with him, started the whole thing, and now he just bugs me from the other side to keep going here. And that's why I wrote the Mayan Astrology Handbook, and that's why I really want to share the information about Mayan astrology.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Our next guest is Dr. Newton, who I was so thrilled to meet last year at Pyramid Valley, which is an extraordinary place in Bangalore, the ashram of an incredible spiritual master named Patriji. And I was so thrilled to meet Dr. Newton at that time. He's a medical doctor known for his innovative healing and transformative methods, which have the underlying theme of healing and transformation through inner awareness. He was born in 1969, and he owes his unusual name to his father's passion for physics. His father, a brilliant teacher of physics, was named him after Isaac Newton. And he has conducted more than 100,000 past life regressions, Dr. Newton, and he launched something called the Association for Regression and Reincarnation Research, of which he's the founder and president. And his vision is to see every individual on this planet become an enlightened master. So, Dr. Newton, thank you so much for joining us all the way from India today. And
yes.
I really would like to see what you vision for this coming era, and what you think will happen on December 21st, 2012, and how we can prepare for this new, what the ancient Maya called the fifth world.
India is the country where this was prophesied long back, almost thousands of years back, about these dark ages, the Kali Yuga. The Kala means darkness in Sanskrit, and exactly like Mayan prophecies, there was prophecies from India. It's spoken about these transition moments. One yuga, one period of time is ending, and there's something new emerging out. So 2012, December 21st, is exactly coinciding with Kalki avatar. Kalki means nothing but an avatar who is representing the collective consciousness of the humanity, who is going to bring a powerful shift. So, a shift in the consciousness. So, there are earth changes that are happening, and that we could see throughout the globe. And exactly on December 21st, as prophesied by Mayan Calendar, Mayan prophecies, so we are stepping into such a glorious period where there is a high energy and high levels of refined consciousness, and there is a possibility for everybody on this planet Earth to experience something very profound about themselves, their consciousness, and to align to the greater good or the highest good for everyone. So the second coming of the Christ, or Maitreya Buddha, or Lord Krishna, who said, whenever there is something happening on the earth, I come back, I choose to reincarnate. So all these prophecies are telling of the same thing about these changes, a big change, a big wave. It is nothing but a change, a shift in the consciousness, and it's not about destruction. It is something about beautiful shift, and collectively, entire humanity is going to make this shift. And not to miss this opportunity to be part of this great wave of change, because this is a golden opportunity for the entire humanity. And as I practice past life regression, I specialized in this field, I see 80% of the humanity is actually locked up with the past energy. We are stuck with past fears. And there is a change now. We are completely aligning ourselves to our new state of being, aligned to the heart and our wisdom, and which can take us to, such a beautiful evolution collectively. So I see these earth changes as part of this ascension of the 2012, and it's because such a big wave of energy is created, and as we are stepping into the photon band by 21st December, and it is a great celebration of all the human beings on this planet Earth, where we can come together and really align ourselves to the coming shift in consciousness. So the fear energy is going to be shifted with something very, very beautiful. And even a critical mass of individuals, they reach to the understanding about what is going to happen, and they align to this new energy, new consciousness, then really this will be like a wildfire which spreads throughout the globe. And I'm very, very happy today to be speaking about the changes according to the Mayan prophecies and ancient Sanskrit scriptures from India and from the Buddhist traditions, from the prophecies from the Christianity, where the second coming of the Christ. I'm very happy to speak about it, and we need to be ready for saying goodbye to the past, whatever that past, and we need to let go of what we are holding on to, the fears and some kind of old belief systems. And we need to completely make with the peace with the past and learn lessons from the past. And then we really make a progress now. And that's what past life regression is about. It's a goodbye process. And to integrate all that past lessons that we have learned in hard ways and in all situations from the past, we need to now make a shift. It's a conscious decision, and it's a free will that we all need to exercise at this point of time. And Susanna, I'm very, very happy to be speaking today. And December 21st on the Mayan cruise, it's going to be a great celebration for everyone.
It certainly is going to be. And from what you said, you believe that Kalki is a consciousness rather than a physical avatar. Is that what you said?
Yes, it is consciousness of the collective consciousness that is now shifting into much more refined, higher consciousness.
Best-selling author, foremost spirituality expert, pioneer in the self-development field. New Thought Minister, Dr. Divinity. I have 7 books in print. My latest book is called Ascension, and it was an Amazon.com bestseller. And my next book will be called Instant Healing, which will be coming out in December of 2012. And I'm pretty well known for having written Divine Revelation and How to Hear the Voice of God. I've been practicing self-development disciplines for about 45 years. For 22 years, I lived in the Himalayas, the Swiss Alps, and other secluded areas under the personal guidance of enlightened master from India, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who is the founder of Transcendental Meditation and the guru of the Beatles and Deepak Chopra. I was on Maharishi's personal staff for 7 of those years. Then I studied New Thought and Metaphysics for another 25 years approximately and became a Doctor of Divinity. And I have taught yoga, meditation, prayer, and intuition to thousands of students all over the world since 1970 as a true New Thought pioneer. I've done over 500 speaking engagements, over 500 media appearances, and I now travel extensively, facilitating workshops, seminars, spiritual retreats, as well as tours to India, Peru, and other sacred destinations. So here's what I see happening on December 21st, 2012. As Robert Bauval described, this is an astronomical phenomenon. And that is that the sun on the solstice is going to be aligned with the dark rift, or the center of the galaxy. This particular astronomical phenomenon has been going on for about the last 50 years or so, and will continue for another 20 years or so. It's actually a 72-year phenomenon. And I believe that it is having an effect on humanity. And that effect is higher consciousness, raising of consciousness. And we see that over the last 50, 60 years. We see how this world has transformed, especially in this country, America, and that has spread really all over the world, the influence of this rise in consciousness. Many of the great masters from the East came to the West to teach us their secrets. Meditation, martial arts. The wisdom of the East has come to the West. Yoga. All these practices, the spiritual practices of the East. People in America didn't know anything about this until the 60s, when these enlightened masters started to come to the West. Well, I guess back up a little bit, because Vivekananda did come in the early part of the century. Yogananda came. So there were spiritual masters who came to America. But really in the 60s is when the explosion happened. And that was really the spiritual revolution. The spiritual evolution and the spiritual revolution. It was a revolution of spiritual consciousness that took place, and I was a part of that. I was a hippie in the 60s. I was a flower child. And at that time, that's when I learned meditation, and that's when I started to teach meditation. And at that time, we were all really interested in developing spiritual awareness and in attaining enlightenment. That was our goal. I know that many people thought that it was just about drugs or just about sex, or I don't know what their idea was, but I was a part of it, and I know what it was about. It was about raising of consciousness. It was about spiritual enlightenment, and that's the reason why we welcomed with open arms these great spiritual masters who came from India to teach us, and from China, not just India, China, Japan. And we were reading books like Autobiography of a Yogi, and we were reading Alan Watts' The Way of Zen. We were reading the Suzuki's books and other books about Zen and about Buddhism, and I particularly was reading the Buddhist scriptures and all of that, and I was interested in spiritual enlightenment, spiritual awakening. So it was through the efforts of all these people and all of us, those of us who have been on the spiritual path since then, whether in my generation or in a newer generation, who have really brought about this spiritual awakening. And I believe that the stars, or the galactic alignment, this planetary alignment, is simply a reflection of what is really happening here on this planet, a rise in consciousness. I was so fascinated by the fact that Dr. Newton said that this is the return of Kalki. If you know anything about Indian philosophy, there's 10 incarnations of Lord Vishnu. that happened. And one of those incarnations was Lord Krishna. One of them was Lord Buddha. And one of them was Lord Rama. And there are a total of 10 of them. And the last incarnation is Kalki. And Kalki is said to have come at the end of the Kali age, the end of the age of darkness, to bring spiritual enlightenment to everyone and everything. So Kalki, riding on his white horse, Dr. Newton tells us that that is simply the Christ consciousness. It is the collective higher consciousness, the consciousness of humanity, which is now embracing what we call the Christ consciousness or the higher consciousness. So this is a vision that I've had since I was a child, the vision of world peace, the vision of higher awareness, and we're bringing it about. It's taking place. And those of us who are coming on this cruise on December 21st, 2012, will be on the cruise ship, and we'll see from the deck of that cruise ship, we'll see the Milky Way galaxy. We'll see that fade, those stars fade, and the sun coming out of that same exact spot as we see the sun rising out of that dark rift, out of the center of that galaxy. And that's going to be a magnificent, magnificent sight. And we're going to be viewing that from the deck of our ship on December 21st, 2012 at 5:11 a.m., which is, by the way, the amazingly auspicious hour of 11:11 Greenwich Mean Time, or it's also called Universal Time or Greenwich Mean Time, is 11:11 a.m., which will be, we believe it'll be 5:11 a.m. unless ship time is different from the central time there in Mexico. This is a new time on the planet. We are living in a new world. I just have such an amazingly optimistic viewpoint about what's going on now and what will be happening as we move into this new era, this era of the Mayan calendar. This is something very spectacular, and we're a part of it. We're alive during this period. This transition is not going to happen by itself. We have to co-create it. We have to be part of it. The Hopi have said long ago that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And to know that we are the ones that are creating this new earth, this new world, this fifth world. So now is the time, and you are being called. Will you answer the call? So join us into the fifth world as one.